remember
kind of hokey.
the ending.
The ending's like, why are you showing me so much?
I'm just glad you exist. I just watched Contact again.
Contact.
Have you watched that recently?
Yeah, I watched it a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago?
I think I watched it in the pandemic when the pandemic first started. Watched it again.
I love that movie, man.
It's a great movie.
I hadn't seen it since it came out, probably, right? And I watched it the other week. It's that thing where the rest of the world doesn't experience what that person experiences. So Jodie Foster, right? She dropped, is that her name? And she dropped down in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they put a chair in it and the chair started going crazy because it wasn't designed that way.
Right.
And she gets out of it and the chair smashes against it. For her, she had this whole experience. We're not, number of hours, 22 hours or whatever. The rest of the world just saw.
Yeah.
Not even a second.
Yeah.
That's your introduction theory right there. The idea that there's popping into timelines across space and time.
Well, I think if you were an incredibly advanced being, if you think about the human race, if the human race doesn't blow itself up and we move on and continue to advance for another 1,000,000 years, you would assume that we would have the ability to do all kinds of things that are just science fiction now. And one of them might be interdimensional travel, access to realms that are previously unseen that we just don't understand because we're just too primitive.
It was preposterous to fly like a bird at one time.
Yeah. It was preposterous to go on a train. They thought if you go on a train more than 35 miles an hour, body would liquefy or something. They thought you would die.
And to put me up in the air, right?
Yeah.
Just
crazy.
I mean, it's all crazy until it's science fiction until it's science fact, man.
Right.
So maybe what we're witnessing is just nature. See, that's my whole thing with this UFO thing is if this is just nature, if this is part of the ecosystem of the world we live in,
right?
We're just like UFOs are part of our reality. There's nothing we can do about that. That has been determined. You've been told. Disclosure in that sense has already been done. You've been told UFOs are real. It's just like, what does that mean for us? In how large of an ecosystem is this that we're dealing with? Isn't that just nature? Like before, we thought there were monsters in the ocean. You said that. We thought there was monsters in the ocean. Now we got names for them. Maybe what we're seeing is just part of nature that we are just becoming aware of, like a Copernican revolution. For whatever.
Right, that there are entities and there are life forms that are far more advanced than us.
Yeah.
And that they've always been here.
The UFO mystery or puzzle might represent something more than just physical machines, other intelligent entities. There might be something bigger going on.
Like what?
Well, I don't know, like as if it's being presented that way to us to almost like educate us or teach us something. I would hope that. I think that's a cool theory.
So they're allowing us to formulate new thoughts based on these experiences in contact and sightings.
I mean, it's an altruistic way of looking at it, but if I was like this hyper-intelligent species, whether being here on Earth or just been here a long time, maybe I got stuck here, or I'm from somewhere else, bringing people, adapting to your presence and helping an evolution, a technological evolution. These craft that like crash, like maybe that's to inspire the next leap for us. I mean, I don't know. Defense people would be like, Jeremy, that's bullshit. They're prepping the battlefield. Fuck, we need to find out their intent.
Yeah.
It's a different perspective.
But it's also, they seem, well, you would know this. Because I said this before, I want to make sure it's true. The sightings picked up in a big way after they dropped the bombs.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah, so after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that's when all the sightings started happening.
Well, even the development.
So during the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, during the development. But
the Trinity.
UFOs have always been part of the human experience. Let's not forget that.
Right.
But it is...
But we don't know what those people are seeing, right? When they talk about the Vimanas and the
shields of fire in the sky.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're seeing. How could we?
The Bhagavad Gita. In so many different... Like Ezekiel, right, in the Bible, a wheel within a wheel.
It's all interpreted.
Ezekiel's like, well, what?
I don't know. But people are in things in the sky that seem to be machines. And no matter what, they describe that.
There's also ancient depictions and paintings of what looks like people in spacecrafts flying around.
I've got one of the first posts I ever did on my website is like image of a painting from pre days. And it shows this fucking disc. and it's shooting down light onto like John the Baptist or something. I don't know.
Right.
Dude, artists will sometimes paint what they have seen and put it in historical context. The shit's haunting, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
what we're seeing today has been seen before. Again, I've got an article, 1960, where there's cubes in spheres that fighter pilots see.
Ooh, where's that article?
I'll just give you, I had to get it from somebody, but.
Do you have a copy on
Yeah,
your
yeah,
phone?
I got it right here.
Get it and get it to Jamie.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. It's just words. They just, they tell you what the pilot saw.
But still, the fact that from the 1960s they have this
That's what I'm saying.
same thing that they saw that
What's your AirDrop?
Oh, sorry, let me open mine up.
Jamie's MacBook Pro?
Yeah, you can do that. That'll work. What's crazy too is that for whatever reason, they seem to go to specific areas. Like you were saying that the cube with the sphere. Here it is. 2 identified pilots, one flying a Frontier Airlines plane, the other a military jet, reportedly spotted the object. The FAA at Grand Junction said the objects appeared to be spherical and enclosing a square object. The lights alternatively flashing the different colors appeared to emanate from the square object within the sphere. The FAA spokesman here declined to comment further on it. And then go all the way up, Jimmy, so we can see what year this is, what time the. So this is the Alamogordo, New Mexico, Thursday, September 29th, 1960. Wild.
Yeah, man.
That's wild.
An online sleuth found this for me.
UFO flashes colored lights on the heels of the green and bright orange unidentified flying object spotted in the Alamogordo skies Sunday night and early Monday morning. A flashing red, white, and green UFO has now been spotted in several New Mexico and Colorado cities.
Which, by the way, red, white, and green were like, oh, that's FAA lights on the stuff I released. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, really, bitch? I'm like, okay, well, look, they were doing red, white, and green back in 1960 when fucking cubes were flying around and,
That is so wild. It's the exact same description.
Yes.
A cube encased in a circle.
I don't even think I've known the pilots about this. I don't know why I've just never shared this with them. They should probably know. They know now.
Yeah.
Should show them. It's
1960.
cool. Yeah, man. Safety of flight issues. Cubes again. 1960.
That's crazy. Fun. I don't know if it's real, but it's fun. That's how I feel.
Doug, I did a podcast with Jim Florentine, and I explained to Jim Florentine that what people don't know is that Hudson County, New Jersey, northern New Jersey, is the number 1 place in the country where they have the most UFO sightings.
Really? Northern New Jersey.
Look it up, Jamie, if you get a minute, please, not to be rude.
But isn't that like near a couple airports?
No, it's closer to like like when you live in New York City and you look at the Hudson River. Mm-hmm. They say that people go on their balcony, they're drinking coffee, they're talking on the phone, and they'll see a little flying saucer go by.
Really?
And I know for a fact that in 1976,
A little one?
whatever the fuck they are, I know for a fact that in 1975 and 1976, you could check me out on this. A UFO landed in Hudson County Park. I was a kid, and the next day the feds locked off the park. They had yellow tape. They had samples. Go look it up, dog. There's a UFO. You see that's called, North Bergen is where I'm from. That's called, I forget what it's called, but it's a circular building. They did so much coke in there in the 80s, they called it the grinder. That's what they called it, because it was shaped like the Stonehenge. The Stonehenge. I have a couple friends that lived there. People that lived in that building have seen UFOs for fucking years. And if you go to YouTube, there's an actual North Hudson Park UFO. Wow. They dug up, they came out there's a liquor store. And the liquor store guy says he's seen the lights. Mm-hmm. You heard like the organ music that they play. Ooh. They landed. A couple Martians got out and took samples and got back in the thing and took off. There's a YouTube thing. There's a History Channel special about it. And I still remember being a young kid.
Did you find anything, Jamie?
That was what's popping up. All that stuff about that building and.
Oh yeah, no.
Is there anything that says a UFO landed?
that's the story I'm reading right now is what he's saying. Yeah.
And witnesses, it's not just one guy that says, "I know UFO." It's people who got knocked on the door and said, "Did you see anything at 11:10 at night?" And they said, "You know what? There were lights flashing outside." They contacted police departments to see if there was any. They went full. Then the FBI came in, circled the park, it was by the Little League field in Hudson County. But it is, like you think it was Area 51, you think it was close to northern Las Vegas. The number one place to see UFOs is northern New Jersey. They even made a reference to it in The Sopranos when he said something. He goes, "What are you talking about? Last week you said you seen a UFO in Hackensack." Because that's where they're at. Hackensack, Moonachie.
Right.
All those. You ever go to Moonachie, New Jersey? A lot of ugly people. A lot of people with big heads. The only good thing in Moonachie, New Jersey is fucking Segovia, Spanish restaurant. It's been there since 19 fucking Schlemensky. I don't know. But that's the only good thing about Moonachie. I think those people in Moonachie have been abducted. There you go. And they back as big-headed motherfuckers.
I did a gig there a couple times.
Yeah, there used to be like a bar. There's a bar that did something in Moonachie.
Was that a Bob Gonzo gig?
Yeah, outside the Sea Caucus.
Was it?
Yeah, it's outside. No. I think Bob is more down the shore and
He
stuff.
had a gigs all over.
He had
the
gigs
place.
all over, Bob. How I met Bob was he did a gig in Romano's Italian restaurant in my hometown. And my buddy's like, "Hey, aren't you a comedian? Let's take you up there." And we went up there, and Bob's like, "I don't know him." He's an unknown. And next thing, Bob came up to me and was like, "Doug, I got to put you up because my friends threatened me." So Bob put me up, and we've become friends ever since.
That's awesome.
I think I follow him on Facebook. We have a chat from time to time on Facebook. But yeah, for you UFO motherfuckers, look into northern New Jersey. That's the fucking motherload of them.
That's interesting. I had before, but I kind of
There you go. He won.
51 UFO sightings in 2018. You get biased because the story is always some person in the woods and they get abducted. They see a UFO in some strange town in the middle of nowhere. The aliens land, abduct people. You always think about it being a rural thing. But if I was an alien, of course I'd go to New York City. Of course I'd go to New Jersey. What the fuck? Why wouldn't you? You want to go see the craziest thing we have? You got like 7 million people stuffed together on a fucking tiny island in comparison to the rest of the planet. Stuff stacked on top of each other. Awesome, amazing buildings. They have all these lights at Times Square. Look at all these people mulling around, traveling over these bridges to get to this one hub, this one hive of humanity. Of course, if I was an alien, I would check that out.
Well,
why would I look at a barn? You know what I mean?
You used to joke that the United States is the Tijuana
Of outer space.
of outer space. Like they're like, "What are we doing this weekend? We're going to fucking."
They come down when they're fucking. They want to see a show.
They want to.
That was the whole bit. Is that I think aliens come here when they're high. They just get fucked up. They're like, "Come on, let's go check out the monkeys. Let's go, dude. Come on, let's abduct a couple of them. Have a good time. Let's go see the monkey people."
I never saw a fucking UFO.
I want to. I never though.
I want to land and I want to see one of those green dudes get out. So I
think I thought I saw some shit when I was a kid, but as I got older, I thought that was like a fighter jet or something. That's what that was. Like there was something. God, it's a real sketchy memory. It's one of those memories that's like barely active. But I remember thinking for like a day or two when I was like a little kid, maybe I saw a UFO. But I think I was trying to convince myself of it. I was bored. But I think it was a jet. I think it was something fast and unusual. Have you ever seen one of those stealth bombers? That looks like a fucking UFO. Have you ever seen one of those things in the sky?
No, yes.
It looks like a Star Wars
like when
movie.
you go to like a Blue Angels fucking thing, those planes.
Yeah, they'll probably
use?
those are like I think those are FA-18s. That's what I think it is. I think that's what that is. I flew in one of those. I had a bit about that too. Yeah, you got to do that. You hold on to the hand. You got to do it. You hook. You either hold on to your handle if you're steering the plane, or you hold on to your straps if you're a passenger. I was in the passenger seat, so I grabbed a hold of my straps, and you have to go like this, hoot, 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 and you have to force blood into your brain to stay awake. That's how much G-force you're going through. It's insane.
Force blood into your brain to stay awake.
See, that's one of those stealth bombers. I saw one of those air over, I guess it's Edwards Air Force Base. Is that what the one is Edwards the one that's out near Palmdale? I think that's it.
Yeah.
Because we used to film Fear Factor in Palmdale, and we saw that thing fly overhead like that. Look at that thing. Tell me that doesn't look like it's from another planet. When you're on the ground and you see that fly overhead, you're like, what the fuck is that? So I think that's responsible for a bunch of the things that people saw. I think it's military crafts.
Can I ask you a question on that article you pulled up, the 51 sightings? What type of sightings do you
Look
have?
at this fucking thing.
What is considered a sighting?
Well, the thing is, like, you just see shit. But how do you know if... What are you doing, Jim?
These are the sightings.
Okay, but go back to that video. Look at that thing. I mean, come on. If you're just sitting on the ground, you saw that, you're like, they're coming! The aliens are coming! That does not look like it's from this world. That thing is madness.
Especially with those two guys next to him.
God, it's fucking beautiful, though. Like, what an amazing design. That thing flying through, it looks like something on a keyboard. You know, it looks like a symbol on a keyboard. And it's just flying perfectly through the air. That looks like the future. I mean, that really does look like it's from another world. I would imagine, like, little blue dudes with black eyes and talking to each other in that thing. Going through fucking wormholes and shit. I mean, that's what that thing looks like. And what's the thing that they're going to have 100 years from now? Just imagine that.
I just want to know what the logistics is for it to be considered a legitimate sighting.
Legitimate sighting?
Legitimate sighting.
It just means it's odd. You know, you don't, like, if you're a lawyer, okay, and you see something, and then you convince yourself that what you saw was something extraordinary, and you have the feeling that you're looking at something from another world. But if it's just some drone or some military vehicle, and then you look at it, and then you convince yourself, then it becomes a bigger and bigger deal in your head. That's a problem with people. It doesn't mean that everybody that sees something is seeing that, but people are kind of full of shit.
Well, let's say there's a 100 call Martian. Mm-hmm. All right. I see a fucking thing. I call that thing.
1-800 call Martian.
Yeah, call Martian. Okay, whatever the fuck.
Okay.
1-800 Martian.
Right.
The phone won't stop ringing. Okay, the phone won't stop ringing. It will never stop ringing.
There'll be people talking to Martians.
My concern is, when do they consider it credible? What does it take for it to be credible? For it to be credible, I got to see the motherfucker land, get out.
My take is usually military guys. When you have military fighter pilots, that's an extraordinary human. If you can be one of those guys that flies one of those B-2s, for them to trust you with that $1 billion fucking spaceship, dude, you got to be an exceptional human. There's no room for someone who's full of shit. You're going to be a top flight fighter pilot. You're going to fly around with gunfights in the sky, because that's what they do. They have gunfights in the fucking sky. Those guys are exceptional human beings. So when they see something, that's when I listen, for sure. Everybody else, I'm not that I wouldn't listen, but I don't know. You know, you might be crazy. But you might be crazy even if you're in the military. You might be crazy if you're a fighter pilot. It's 100% possible.
So those pilots and all those Air Force pilots that do test runs or whatever, they say that they see things?
There's a bunch of sightings. Not only a bunch of sightings, there's a bunch of sightings from the really credible guys. What is this? Fleet of UFOs followed U.S. aircraft Navy pilot says.
Yeah,
May
this is
29th.
what I'm talking about.
See, these that are talking about these things, these aren't guys with histories of embellishing things. They have this, whatever that is. Is that radar? What are they looking at? Is that infrared? Like, what is that screen that they're looking for? Does it say what kind of image it is? Because it's like a weird look. It's not like a photograph, right? It's like a weird computer image. Because it's detecting it, right, with some piece of equipment, right? Isn't it? Like tracking it on radar or something like that?
I know what you're saying, because I feel like I've heard that description of it too, but this article just says it's video of 2 aerial encounters.
That's tremendous.
But that video doesn't look very clear. Why isn't it clear? My phone does a better job than that shit.
They don't have very good cameras on those.
Cameras,
they have good cameras. I mean, they don't have good ones, but like in order to catch movement at that high speed up there, yada, yada, all that stuff.
Oh, so it would require some exceptional gear.
I think. And it could have also been at night. I don't know what time of day it was.
So convenient. So convenient that they never have a clear picture. That drives me fucking crazy. It drives me fucking crazy, because if it is real, I want it to be real. Honestly. I really do. But when I look at it, I go, God damn, so many people are so crazy and so many people are so full of shit.
You personally believe, and so do I,
Dun, dun, dun.
that there's other galaxies out there. There has to be.
Well, there are definitely galaxies, other civilizations.
Other civilizations.
Yeah.
Some form somewhere. Out of the 9 planets, there's got to be something.
Brian,
I don't know what. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what they're called or whatever, but there has to be something. At this point, you have to believe that.
The universe is big. It's just too big to discount, to say, nope, I doubt it. Like, that's so crazy to say. Just because we haven't seen it yet, it's so big.
There's the explanation of what he caught and what.
He said that though track equipment, radar, and infrared cameras on his aircraft detected UFOs both times, he was unable to capture them on his helmet camera. Okay.
So maybe he couldn't look at it, get it in good vision or whatever. I don't
Maybe.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that's a good reason why he.
I would imagine as fast as those goddamn things are going, it must be really hard to get a
See what
camera
he
to be able
just
to
says
constantly
there?
focus in and out. And
It's interesting. He says that Lieutenant Ryan Grimes,
Graves?
Graves, a squadron of UFOs followed his Navy strike group up and down the eastern coast of the U.S. for months. That's, I'm telling you, that little fuck. I read something about the Hudson River, that all those people that live across the Hudson River, whether on the Weehawken and Edgewater side or the west side of Manhattan, those are where the people on their balconies see all that shit.
look at this shit. We did issues with them when we went to the Middle East, Lieutenant Graves said. Imagine them following the war. Imagine if they were alien and they came down to follow the war. So they see the war going on in Iraq,
How crazy is
Afghanistan. They come down and they're checking it out.
Just to go on the cynical side of this, they're not necessarily saying they are an alien ship. They're saying it's a UFO, so it's something they're not sure of. What if it's some sort of awesome drone that some Middle Eastern company has and it can just follow shit or move faster or something?
Sure.
I don't know.
That would be the more likely explanation, right? Yeah. Terrestrial would be more likely that someone has advanced shit. We know they have advanced shit. I mean, we know they have incredible drones. You know, I mean, the stuff that they can do.
Jerry, they got drones. The SEALs, you put razor blades on them, and they slit your fucking throat when you're driving. That's how good the technology is on those drones.
Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be shocked if they could do all kinds of things.
You could be standing there, and they could take the drone to just come down, and fucking they put razor blades on them or some shit.
Well, you could totally see someone having a small drone, like a small thing, like the size of a burger, that has poison in it. And you just slam it into somebody. I could see that. But you're seeing, when you're seeing stuff that's flying around the sky, most likely is made by a person, because people make stuff, and people know how to make stuff that flies around the sky. But then when you get to shit that like defies physics, like some of the things these fighter pilots see, that's when you got to go, wait a minute. You see these extraordinary feats of traversing distances, like they can get from one place to another place so fast it looks like they disappear. This is something they all talk about. They all talk about the insane speed at which these things can go. They can just change angles. They can just go and then take a hard right angle turn. They can do stuff that nothing that we know how to make can do. That's where it gets to be like, whoa, like nothing. It's not like it's like, oh, that's like a fighter jet, but like really fast. You know what I'm saying? It's like an alien car. Oh, it's like a car, but it's way faster. Like it's an alien car. But this is not like anything that we make. These fucking things, they fly this way, they say, flat, like a plate hovering over the ground. But when they go to fly, when they go to take off, they flip up sideways. And they have like the bottom of the spaceship is pointing towards where it wants to go. And it does something to space and time, make some sort of fucking magnetic gravity connection, insert big spooky words, whatever. They don't know how the fuck it does it, right? This thing can go like insane distances in insanely small amounts of time. Then when they all report the same kind of behavior of these, I mean, so many of these reports are like that. They're talking about this thing that goes insanely fast, turns on its side. It looks like a Tic Tac. It looks like a saucer. It looks like they're trying to figure out what the fuck the shape is because it's moving so goddamn fast. But it's doing stuff that nothing we know how to make can do. I don't know if it's from another planet. It might be from here, but it's exciting. It's exciting shit. I want it to be from another planet. That's what I want, like unbiased, like what I would love it. Just be completely honest. I would love it if it was aliens. But if it was people, I'd be even more scared Because, like, goddamn, people can do that. People can do that, and no one knew. Like, if you can imagine a person who can make a spaceship that defies all of the rules that we know about travel, about air travel, if they can make something that defies all that shit, and somehow or another keep the whole development and production of it a secret, and then have this thing and take it off, and no one knows how the fuck they did it, that's almost more impressive than aliens. Because that's what these things are doing is, so if these pilots are accurately reading what's happening and they're telling the truth, the thing that's remarkable is their stories are very consistent. There's a lot of very similar stories from different people that they make a living flying super fast warships. You know, they see things, they know what the fuck they're looking at. They see something they don't know, they're like, what in the fuck is that? When they see something like that, that freaks me out. That's when it gets me. Because when some fucking kid's riding his bike to school and he looks up and he sees a UFO, okay, maybe it did happen. Maybe it did happen. Maybe the kid's being 100% honest. Or maybe he was bored. Maybe he was bored and decided to make up a crazy story and stuck with it. And then after a while telling it, maybe he believed it himself. That happens too. People see things. They don't know what they're seeing, and they decide that it's a different thing. I've said this before, but it's a true story. When I was in Alberta, there's wolves there, and I thought I saw a wolf for like a whole second. It was a squirrel. It was a fucking squirrel. But I saw gray fur movement wolf squirrel. Like, if you're dumb, or if you're compromised, or if maybe you're a little drunk, maybe you're a little tired, you know, maybe you just saw something that looked really weird because of, you know, whatever weather conditions that are affecting some part of the world you live in. There's things called ball lightning, flies through the air. You know, it looks like a UFO. You ever see that shit? It's like a real natural phenomenon. Somebody might see something like that and then add a bunch of other shit to it. And that's where you get a lot of these stories. You get like natural phenomenon and then people adding a bunch of shit to things. But then on top of that, you have credible stories. And you can't throw out any of them. Like, it's when you look at all these things, you can't decide just because there's a bunch of crackpot stories about UFOs that the ones by legitimate fighter pilots, that those aren't real. You can't look at it that way. It's crazy to look at it that way. Because it's more likely there's something out there than there isn't something out there. It's way more likely.
When I was a kid and that happened in Hudson Park, I wrote it off. I didn't even pay attention. I remember riding my bike up there, seeing the Fed tape and seeing people with those orange protective suits on.
Yeah.
And I was like, these people are fucking out of my mind. Then one night I got high, 5 or 6 years ago, and I saw it. And somebody had posted on Facebook or YouTube. And I read more and more into it. And I discounted it until I read the accounts of the 28 people.
Yeah.
In that building, the liquor store, there was a guy who had just got dropped off a bus from New York. Because buses drop you off there from New York. Mm-hmm. The bus driver said there was a flash. He couldn't, you know, there were just so many people with stories that, you know, they didn't see a fucking guy get out. Only 3 people saw people get out.
Mm.
Everybody else discounted the lights and the noise and the other bullshit that went with it. I would have shit my fucking pants if I lived in that building and saw 3 little Martians get out. Or it could just be fucking, who knows? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, man.
I just wanted to tell you that's where
people can get freaked out, and they can, you know, they can think all kinds of things that didn't really happen.
Hey, one was on acid. I thought I thought the FBI was out there with dogs. I went out the next day, it was fucking a fire hydrant, all right? I dumped an ounce of coke down the toilet.
Oh, my God.
Because I hallucinated. Because when you're doing coke for more than fucking 10 hours, you start hallucinating. I started hallucinating. I thought it was fucking dogs and it was a fire hydrant. You know how stupid I felt the next day? Pretty fucking stupid. Pretty fucking stupid. I sat there and I went over and petted the hydrant. You fuck. You fuck.
This is a problem with any story, like all these fucking UFO stories. It's people's memory. Memory's not that good. It's just not that good. It's too hard to figure out what it actually looked like after you saw it. Like, you see something crazy like a year ago, and then you try to describe it. It's too hard to describe. Like, you barely remember it. Your version of it is a rehashed version that you keep repeating to yourself. You know, if you saw something, like say if you were hiking and you saw a wolf, right? If you saw that wolf, when you try to describe that moment you saw that wolf years later, like what are you actually seeing when you're going into your memory? How accurate is it? We're always lying about how accurate our memory is. It's not that good. Like if you did see a wolf, which is an extraordinary moment, right? You're in the fucking forest. You're like, it's a fucking wolf. That's a wolf. And you see a real wolf looking down on you, a wild motherfucker in the woods of Canada, just looking at you, staring at you on a trail. Like, that's an extraordinary moment. But if you try to recount that in your mind 10 years later, what do you actually see? How much do you actually see? You see this blurry, weird, fucking misty version, and you've got some words that fall into place that can describe it. But how accurate is your fucking memory? It's terrible.
How accurate?
Statistics.
Okay.
Like, I can tell you about fights. I can tell you what year someone fought. I can tell you how this guy won and how he beat, this many guys with a triangle, and I remember things. But if I actually have to remember what it actually looked like in my head, I can't really pull that up. I barely can pull it up. If I see it, I'll recognize it again. Like, you show me Joe Schilling knocking out Melvin Manhoef in Bellator. I watched that KO so many times. A wild, crazy slugfest. And if I see it, I'm watching it happen in a video. I remember it. Yep, this is how it goes. Here it goes. Boom! He KOs him. But if I had to just pull that out of my brain right now, it's not good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if I have to close my eyes and pretend I saw Mike Tyson knock out Michael Spinks, I kind of can see little flashes. I can kind of remember weird little parts of it. I remember the final right hand. Boom! He just sends him flying through the ropes. It was chaos. It was just like, he's the best ever. But if I had to play it back in my head, it wouldn't be nearly as good as a video.
So what year was your incident? And you have a very, very famous incident that's corroborated by actual evidence, which is one of the rare ones. What year was it, and where did it take place?
November 14th. It's really, if you draw San Diego to Ensenada, Mexico, we're about 60 miles off the coast in between the two. We're doing workups, so when we did deploy, this was for the 2005 deployment. We were going for November and December of 2004. So we had been out. I had just taken a water in mid-October, so I'd been the CO for a month. So we go out and we're putting the battle group pieces together. So it's not just the air wing, but we're on the carrier. We've got the cruiser. We've got all the support ships out there, and we're going to integrate all the defenses and train as one unit. So the exercise that we're going to do is an intense exercise where there's good guys, bad guys. They're all from the air wing. So the bad guys today are going to be the Marines, VMFA 232, the Red Devils. So they're going to launch, and they're going to go about 100 miles south of the ship, and we're the good guys, and we call it a 2v2, so it's two of us, two of them. And we're going to work with the USS Princeton, which is going to be the controller, and they're going to control the blue forces, and then the red guys are going to give us a presentation that, they're going to try and intercept so we can stop them from getting up towards a carrier. So that's kind of the training set that we're all good. So the Marines take off first, and they start heading to the south. Now, we have no idea that 2 weeks, the 2 weeks we've been at sea, they've been tracking these things come out of the sky. And when I talked to the Princeton controller, he's up to about a dozen of them. They would come down from above 80,000 feet. They'd drop down to about 20,000 feet. They'd hang out, and then they'd go straight back up after about 3 or 4 hours.
You say they've been tracking them? Who specifically?
The Princeton was tracking them. They saw them on the Nimitz radar, and the E2 could see them. Because they're out there, that radar's on all the time. And the I-1 system on an Aegis cruiser is, the state-of-the-art, probably the most sophisticated systems in the world.
So when something like this happens and there is some unexplained phenomenon, what do they do?
In this case, if we were in a threat environment, they tell us, but we're off the coast of San Diego, it doesn't come to the air wing. So we have no idea that these things are out there at all.
So they observe these things, and they never bother telling any of you guys?
That's correct.
So they just knew that these things had been visiting this area, yes, but they just allowed this training exercise to take place anyway.
Talking to them, for the 2 weeks they would show up, but it was when we weren't flying. So the typical carrier schedule is, for us, it was about noon to midnight. It's a 12-hour. There's reasons for that. It can go a lot longer. But for training, we just do a 12-hour day thing. And it's cyclic ops, so you got guys taking off and landing periodically. So we were on one of the first goes. It's noon, 1 o'clock, somewhere around there, and we take off. The Marines take off first, and my buddy Cheeks, who's the CO of the Marine Squadron, he was leading the red. When he launched off the carrier first, they called him up and said, "Hey, what do you got on?" Well, the original legacy F-18s don't have as much gas as the Hornets. Super Hornet's about 30% bigger. So they start talking to him about fuel, and based on how long we're going to be airborne and everything else, they go, "Hey, why don't you just go ahead and proceed to your cap point?" Because we had just taken off. And that controller had come up and said, "Hey," I forget our call sign. It's probably dealer was usually what we went. So that'd be like dealer 1-1, Princeton Control. What do you got? Say your loadout. Kind of chuckled. He said, "I said, well, I got a CATM 9, which is basically just a blue metal tube with a seeker head for an AIM-9 air missile. It's a training. It doesn't come off the airplane. You can beat it with a sledgehammer. That's the only way to get it off, or you got to unlock the lugs with a key." So I'm like chuckling. He goes, "Well, hey, we're going to cancel the training." So we're like, "Okay." He says, "We got real world vector, and they're going to send us out to the west." So picture if it's, if you got a clock, then in the middle, we're a little bit south of that, about 40 miles south, and then the Marines are about 100 miles south of the ship, about 60 miles between us. So as this is all happening, my wingman is joining up, right? And these are F-18F, so there's 2 people in each jet. So it's me and my Wizzo, which is weapon systems operator, and I've got the other pilot and the weapon systems operator in the other jet. So they tell us all this, hey, we're going to real world, and they send us out 270, about 60 miles away from where we're going. So now we're going either out to sea. We have no idea what we're intercepting, and this is when the controller starts talking to us. He says, "Hey, sir, we've seen these objects. For 2 weeks, they've been coming down," and he's giving us the whole. He says, "We need you to go investigate. We want to know what these are."
But can you investigate in a jet that's unarmed?
That's cool. And there's reasons for that we don't fly. We typically don't fly ordnance unless we're actually going into like a combat zone or we're on a training range and we're going to shoot something. And the reason is you can go through history of the Navy or Air Force. If you put live missiles on airplanes and then you start doing training, squeezing the trigger, someone always messes the switchology up and someone gets shot down. It's happened multiple times. So we don't do it. There's times that we do, but it's rare. So we start flying out to the west. Now, I want you to think, because the other pilot has when you talk to, it's good, it was a female. When you talk to her, here's the kind of goes through the mindset of, hey, we're off the coast, real world vector. We have no idea what we're going to look at. Probably drug runner, because you get the drug runners coming up the coast. So we're like, okay. So we drive out, and they're calling down ranges. So they're going to say it's 270 at 30 miles at 20,000 feet. And it's, and then you just count down the ranges. And we're talking back and forth the whole time. So they got to a point where they say, hey, merge plot, which means radars have resolution cells, range and azimuth of what the radar can actually see. Once you're inside that box, you can't tell the difference between me and the object I'm going. We're just become one big blob. So they call merge plot. And so the other jet is on my left-hand side. And I'm going to go to a clock code to make it simple. So the object we're going to end up looking for is right in the middle of the clock. And we are at the 6 o'clock position. And my wingman is off to my left side. So she's further down with her Wizzo. So as we're looking around, we look to the right, and there's yesterday was a perfect example out here. The water is perfectly calm, no white caps. I mean, it's literally a perfect San Diego, California day. And we see water, something like if you see a seamount, rock underwater when you're standing ashore and the waves are breaking over it and you're like, what is that? It's usually because there's a rock under the water. So it looks like that, but it's about the size of a 737. Actually kind of has a shape of like a cross, and it's pointing to the east. So you've got the long part going east-west, and you got a couple of things going north and south. So as we're looking at it, because that kind of draws our eyes, we're like, oh, that's kind of odd. We look down, and the Wizzo in the other airplane comes up and says, hey, skipper, do you? And that's about what he gets out of his mouth. And I'm kind of the same thing. I go, dude, do you see that? What is that thing? And what we see is this white tic-tac looking object just above the surface of the water, pointing north-south, and it's going north-south, east-west. It's just radically moving forward, back, left, right at will. And it's moving around the disturbance, the white water that we see.
How big is this thing?
So, over time, it's about 40 feet long. And the way I estimate that is I got a lot of time fighting other airplanes, so it's about the size of a Hornet. Fuselage, I say 40 feet. And this thing's just going left. So the first thing you see when you look down, you go, and this is with our eyes, it's not sensors, right? So we're looking at this thing, and first thing you think is helicopter, right? Helicopters typically stay below 200 feet when we're out there, and they're just driving around. We're pretty far away from the ship for a helicopter for one of ours. So what is it? So the first thing you look for is rotor wash. You know, if you've watched any TV show that starts kicking the water up, and you can see, it's really easy to see from the air. So we're like, no rotor wash. Matter of fact, don't see any rotors. Don't see any tail rotor, any, the main rotors. We're like, that's kind of weird. So as we're driving around, we're looking at this thing. We get to about the 9 o'clock position.
How far away are you from this thing?
I'm at 20,000 feet, and it's right down on the surface, right off our right side. So I'm probably maybe a couple miles lateral and 20,000 feet, and we're just watching it move around. And
so it's very small in your eyes.
Not overly small. I mean, an airplane down that low, 40 feet, you can see pretty well. It was pretty clear. So I'm like, okay. So I said, I'm gonna go check it out. That's what we're trained to do. The other pilot says, hey, I'm gonna stay up here, and I'm like, that's perfect. So now we'll get some separation. We'll get it from different views, and the other airplane will kind of have a God's eye view of everything that's going on as I go down and check this thing out. So I start driving around, and it's still doing its forward, back, left, right. It's still pointing north-south. We get to about the 12 o'clock position. I'm just in a nice, easy descent. Because I've been asked, could you go more aggressive? You can, but when you're out over water, the water looks the same at 20,000 feet as it does at 2,000 feet. You don't, so you can easily put yourself in a non-recoil position if you're not paying attention and you go into the water. So I got this nice, easy descent. I get to about 12 o'clock, and as I'm coming down, I could guess probably about, 18,000 feet now, a couple thousand feet below the other airplane. The tic-tac just kind of rapidly goes boop and turns, so now it's kind of pointing east-west, and now it mirrors us. So it's above the surface, we're up high, we're coming down, it starts coming up. I'm like, well, this is getting interesting. So we kind of drive all the way around a circle, I'm descending, it's coming up, and I get over to about the 8 o'clock position on the clock, and it's over at about the 2 o'clock position. Well, the quickest way, as we know as kids, to get someone, you can keep going around the circle, nothing's going to happen. You cut across the circle. So I'm about, probably 2,000 to 3,000 feet above it, and I just kind of drop my nose aggressively, and I cut across the circle, and it's coming this way. It's because I'm trying to fly to where it's going to be, because I want to join on it. I want to see how close I can get to it.
Right.
And as I'm pulling up, it's kind of starting to cross my nose, and it starts to accelerate, and within about less than a second, as I start to pull nose on, it crosses right in front of me. It just goes poof, and it's gone. So I call the other airplane. I said, "Hey, do you guys see that thing?" And they're like, "Sir, it's gone. We don't see it at all." So I'm like, "Okay, that's kind of weird." So we don't see it. We're looking. At the same time, I say, "Hey, let's turn around and let's go back to see what was in the water. Was there something there?" So we turn around. We're right there. We haven't gone anywhere. It's gone. Water's perfectly, there's no white water, nothing. It's just blue. We're like, okay. So we turn back around. Now we're heading back out towards the east, and I tell the controller, I said, I first said, kind of weirded out, and I told my backseater that. And we start back, and the controller on the Princeton comes up and he says, "Sir, you're not going to believe that thing is back at your cap point." That was our original point where we were going to hold 40 miles south ship. So this thing has went from wherever we were at to about 60 miles in, maybe 30, 40 seconds. It's already over there. And they didn't track it. It just appeared. It shows back up on their radar, and they go, "It's here." So we're like, okay. So we fly back. We don't see it. We don't see it on our radar. We don't see it on any of our sensors. We do like 2 runs, and we come back to the ship and land. So as we're in we call it the PR shop. We're taking off our flight gear. One of my is getting ready to go out, and I think they were going to be on a tanker mission, but they had a targeting pod on board. So they launch off, and we're telling them this before, and the backseater, Chad, says he's really determined he's going to find this thing. So he pilot, "Hey, we're going to find this thing." So they're just out driving around, and in the back seat of a Super Hornet, there's no stick, but there's side stick rollers, and they're to control the sensors, because that's what the weapon system's got. And they can change displays really fast by just hitting a button, and it'll flip from the radar to the targeting pod. And the way the system actually works is when you see something on the radar and you designate it as your primary target, all the other sensors will look at that point. So everything is kind of together. So he picks up a hit on his radar, and he goes to lock it up, because I watched all the tapes. He goes to lock it up, and immediately the radar can tell, it gets signals back that it's being jammed. And technically jamming is an act of war. It starts jamming the radar, goes into a jam extrapolate, a bunch of stuff happens on the scope. Well, he's smart enough to castle to his targeting pod, and he takes a passive track, and that's the video that you see of the tic-tac where it's just sitting in the middle of the screen real quiet. So he does that, and he goes through, if you watch the video, I'd go through it with you, but they go through all the different modes. So he goes, it's an IO, EO is TV, it's black and white TV camera.
We do. We can get the right online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's get the video, Jamie. You can't show it to anybody. We can't show it on YouTube, but you can see it, and people will be able to go to it. You know what we'll do? Go to the video, and we'll tell people when we're starting, and we'll tell people what the title of the video that you get to is, and they can sync it up themselves if they're watching it.
It's publicly owned. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's publicly owned. It's American government released
Right.
it. So it is actually something in the public domain.
So you think we could play it on YouTube, not get pulled?
Yeah.
100%.
You think so, Jamie?
It's a government.
Those things, yes, we should be able to, but sometimes those things get messy. So
let's take a chance.
Okay,
let's take a chance with this one.
Okay, all right.
I know if you find a New York Times article, there's a link to it.
It's a Pentagon release.
YouTube is crazy with copyright stuff, and we've always been like 2 steps away from getting pulled off of YouTube completely. It's a real disaster. I understand from their perspective. There's a lot of legal issues they have to deal with, but
I have it on a private server. I could maybe send Jamie.
The issue, I believe, though, is the actual copyright of the video itself.
Oh, it's a Pentagon
released public domain.
And the Pentagon's going to come after us.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Did you find it?
Yeah, I want to find a good version of the video that doesn't have somebody
Jeremy,
else's
do you know?
copyright.
Yeah, I've got a watermark version. Let me just look it up and
this
send
one
it
has
to you.
tons of
Jeremy will
watermarks
get
all
it
over
to us.
I have to figure out how to send it to you right here. Give me a second.
Do you have a drop? Or could you airdrop it?
Yeah, but
Do
I
you
got
have
it on
copy of
a page. I got it on a private page. I can send Jamie.
Oh yeah, okay. Do you have Jamie info?
No.
Yeah,
Send-
I'll write it down.
Okay, I'll figure it
Or
out.
you can send it to me and I'll send it to him.
Okay.
That's pretty easy. Sorry to disrupt the momentum.
No, you're good.
But I think it's probably important to be able to have this the video itself, so you could just talk about it. And we're about to yank it up here. Okay, Jamie wrote it down for you. There you
Thanks. Give me a second to get it out.
go. Okay. And for people who don't know, Jeremy also produced Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers, and he was in here when we had Bob Lazar in, talk about Bob's experience, and Jesus, if that wasn't a game changer for me and for a lot of other people. This is a subject that it's so easy to mock. You know, this is why I think it's so important that we talk to people like you, because, like I said, just your average, everyday UFO crackpot, they believe everything and anything. Had you ever had any UFO experiences before this?
No, I tell this story. My mother-in-law, she'll be listening. She literally, every time I would go, she would ask me, "Hey, did you see a UFO? Did you see a UFO?" And I'd be like, "No." And when I first dated my wife, she was a big National Enquirer. She had all the supermarket tabloids, and I would always just feed her crap for it. So it happens, and I never say a word. So my friends all knew it was a great story over beers because they'd go, "Hey, what's the coolest thing you ever saw flying?" I go, "I chased a UFO," and they go, "Get out of here!" I go, "No, seriously," and I tell them the story, and they're like, "Dude," I go, "Yeah." So I go home, and I got asked by Lou Elizondo to do the New York Times article, which, as anything else, I always say no. Like, it took a bunch of times to get me on your show. Jeremy kept asking, and it was...
Thank you, Jeremy.
You got to thank my contractor's wife, Angel, we were at a party drinking, and she goes, "You got to do Rogan." I go, "What?" She goes, "It's the biggest podcast on the planet." She goes, "You got it." And I go, "All right, I'm going to do it. Just for you, I'm going to do this show." So
shout out to Angel.
Yeah, from New Hampshire. So my mother-in-law, we're sitting there, and I know the New York Times article is going to come out. And so it was at Thanksgiving when the article came out, 17. So it was Thanksgiving in 2017. And everyone had kind of left the house. So it's just my wife and my in-laws. A couple of us sitting in the kitchen. And I said, "Hey, I got to tell you guys this." They said, "What?" I said, "There's going to be this article comes out in the New York Times, and I'm in it." And they're like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, I chased a UFO." My mother-in-law's like, "Ha ha." She looks at my father-in-law. He's rolling his eyes looking like, "Oh, are you serious?" And I go, "Yeah, oh, yeah." And she's like, "You never told us." I go, "I never really told anyone." I mean, my wife and kids knew the event happened, but they didn't have all the details because it's just one of those things I just didn't get into.
Is it classified?
No.
Or was it at any point in time?
No, there's a lot of rumors out there that it was classified and the ship locked down. No, it was, we were never, men in suits did not show up. No one told us not to talk about it. And this is because there's a lot of other people saying other things. And I said, look at it. Here's the context. So in the battle group, you've got the admiral, the captain of the ship, the captain of the Princeton, and then you've got the other CO. So in position-wise, I'm probably, as a CO of a squadron, in the top 20 out of 6,000. And no one came to talk to me. No one came to take my tapes. No one showed up in a suit. No one told me not to talk. No one talked to any of my heirs that were involved in this. There were 6 people total involved. The 2 that shot the video and the 4 looked at it for 5 minutes with our eyes. No one, not just, and I can get into how the report that George Knapp got released. I call it the unofficial official report. And I had met someone, and I'm like, hey, can you find anything out? I had this. And normally you tell people this, they look at you like, dude, what are you thinking? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm tested. They go, and they said, well, let me see what I can do. And I had got a call. I was doing some aerospace work, and I had gotten a call on my cell phone from a guy. And he said, hey, I want to investigate your incident. And I go, okay. So he did. He investigated the incident, and very, very thorough. I mean, if you've read it's about 10 pages long. And he tracked down everybody. He tracked down all the people that were the aircrew involved. He tracked down the admiral. It was a pretty thorough report. And I didn't think anything of it. The people worded it's out there, so they want to do FOIA, but it was never just in a FOIA request. I actually had the Navy call me. I'd been out of the Navy for like 6 years. And
let's explain to people that means freedom of information.
Freedom of information. So I got called by a public affairs person from the Navy and said, hey, is this Commander Fravor? And I said, yeah. And they said, hey, do you know of any documentation on your UFO off the Nimitz? And I said, official. And she said, yeah. I said, no, because I knew the report existed, but to me it was an unofficial because I knew where it went. And I had a copy of it, but because it wasn't. Well, then years later, I find out that the guy who actually did the report was the ATIP team. And I was talking to Lou Elizondo, who runs that program. And Lou showed me the documentation of the original, I think it's like 13 people that were part of ATIP, and they were FOIA exempt. And I'm like, well, that's hey, I know that guy. He's the guy that did the report, which is why it never ever came out until George got his hands on it.
How is the Freedom of Information Act exempt?
Obviously, DOD has the ability, because I'm not a conspiracy theory person at all. I mean, I'll just tell you that. And I think there's reasons that the government doesn't tell the public everything. And I don't speak for the government, but I think there's a good reason for that. Not everything needs to go out to the public, but most of it does. And they do is they put a clause on, hey, for this program or whatever we're doing, which would have been an A program, the work that they do and what they find it's not releasable through Freedom of Information Act. There's probably other avenues to get that. And then you go, well, what really is freedom of information? Because I got into this I was talking to someone who's a conspiracy theorist, and they said, well, so-and-so wrote, and they're not getting any information on your event. So what are they going to do? They're going to call up, you're going to put in your request for freedom of information. You go, here's what I want. It goes to some poor guy at the Pentagon who's like, I have no idea what this is. And he searches around. He doesn't find anything. He looks at his bud, and I go, for you. I go, hey, Joe, you got anything on the Nimitz incident? And you go, nope. And I go, okay, well, I didn't find anything. I looked. I did my due diligence, but I'm not going to spend the next 6 months of my life doing your research project for you.
Right.
So and you get nothing, and then you assume the government's covering up when the government really isn't. They just, the guys doing the research doesn't know where it's at or doesn't have access to it.
Makes sense. Jamie, we have the video? Okay. Here we go. Now, explain what are we seeing and why are we seeing it in this particular
Okay,
shade?
so we'll just kind of go around. So if you look at the don't PRs operate on the top corner. NAR is narrow view, which is zoomed in. IR at the top middle, it means it's in infrared mode. So instead of seeing color, you're seeing temperature variations. Okay. And these things are extremely sensitive to in like tenths of degrees. They will tell you the difference to color. So it'll black to white. So in this case, white is hot. So if you look down in the bottom left corner, it says WHT. That's white. It means hot. So the object that you're looking at is hotter than the sky around it. Also notices there's no plumes. Now, if you're looking at an airplane, when you get closer, you'll actually see the exhaust coming out, and there will be a really glowing plume. That's important as we look at video. And then most of the stuff on here you really don't need to know. What you can look at is the bottom right corner, it says 19,990 and a B, the altitude. And if you look up in the little word LT, B, it's autopilot. So it's on altitude. It's just flying for that. So you can go ahead and play the video. And so those two bars in the white object, that's a passive track. So what he's done is he's commanded the FLIR to track that. So the system does is it's actually tracking. It can track pixels, and it's just basically blocked those hot pixels, those white pixels from the black ones. And then you're going to see now, pause it real quick. So up at the top, see it went to a white screen with the black object. This is a black and white TV mode. And if you look at the top, it says TV. So narrow in TV mode is actually, you can get closer than narrow in IR. It's literally narrow in IR is about medium in TV mode. So you can get closer with the TV mode. So as you look at it now, in this case, you would actually start to see stuff going on. And even in TV mode, because you get exhaust, the black exhaust that comes out, you'll usually be able to see kind of some of that coming out of the back, and you don't see anything. This thing's just sitting there. And if you look at the top where it says 3 right, that's the pod is looking 3 degrees right of the airplane, right? So he's just flying along. The bottom numbers, don't worry, those are time. So it's 41:56. So go ahead and hit play. And what he's doing is Chad's going through all the different modes because he's like, oh, I got it. And he's going to try and see the best video that he can get. Now, there's rumors that this video is like 10 minutes long. What you're looking at is the entire video. Now, notice where it says 99.9. So hit pause real quick. What that means is while he's got the pod, the targeting pod, because that's his primary sensor right now, the radar is still trying to look at this object and trying to range it, and the radar can't get ranging on it. So the object is doing something to say, I'm not giving you back, because it's just a Doppler radar, just like a police radar is a Doppler. It's trying to get a ranging on you, and it can't do it. So when it says 99.9, the radar cannot see this object right now. It's not allowing it to get ranging.
And I think that's super important, the way he explained it to me. Active jamming compared to passive jamming. The technology that is actively jamming this system.
Rather than something like stealth aircraft, which is the shape and the texture of the...
Yeah, it's... Because everyone thinks stealth is invisible. It's not. It's a technology to really make it harder for radars to see you. And that's the whole thing. If you look at airplanes that are nose on are harder to see than airplanes at the sides. Kind of like, think of a barn door. If you're looking at the whole barn door, it's really easy to see. If I turn the barn door sideways where it's really thin, it's going to be a lot harder for you to see it.
Got it.
So that's the easiest, most basic way to look at this. So keep going. You can play again. And you can look, the airplane is still sitting at 20,000 feet. It's doing 250 knots. He's going to go through modes and try and lock it. And it's just kind of sitting. All of a sudden, as the video goes on, I think it's a minute and a half long. See, it's going to try and reacquire. It recenters the pod. So it's slowly drifting to the left. The Hornet is still going the same heading, just hanging out. And they're just filming this thing. And then when they get close, it's going to zing off the left-hand side. When you see it on a full, because this, you think digital, you'd be able to get a one-for-one copy. Unlike, when you copy your album to a cassette, you lose a little quality. Well, you still do in digital world. And off it goes to the left. And that's pretty fast to leave that field of view. When we have big monitors that we look at these when they come back, so we're looking at the original tapes. So
play the end of that again, please, Jamie. So when it's taking off, how fast, when it just leaves the field of view and takes off to the left, how fast is that going?
I would say fast. It's an estimate. If we had ranging, you could obviously do the triangle and go, hey, because we know how big the field of view is. But for something to leave the field of view that fast with the pod staring is pretty fast. I mean, it's like out of here. No, because we can't. I don't care what airplane it is. So let's just use the F-22 Raptor. That's probably it's probably the best airplane in the world right now, performance-wise. It can't take off like that, especially if it's a hover. I mean, you're talking something that's just sitting in space in the wind, and then it just all of a sudden accelerates. Airplanes don't work that way.
And it's not an exhaust plume.
Notice there's none. And when you go back to the IR
at the end,
even in the IR.
Yeah, see, there's IR zoomed in, and there's no. You would see a plume as an airplane.
It's creepy how it's tough.
Yeah.
With jamming, it's intelligently controlled. There's no rotors, there's no plumes, there's no exhaust, there's no tail fin, there's no tail number. This thing goes from a standstill, takes off. It's a propulsion system we don't have in our inventory, and no other nation does. That's how it's understood by the government.
So if the fastest plane on Earth was trying to do that same maneuver, this system would be able to track it?
It would stay with it until it got to the limits of the pod, as far as looking to the left. But
right.
And the radar would see it. I mean, you get close enough, everything becomes visible because you get burned through with radar and how radars actually work. This one is, you tell me, but this was performance beyond. I mean, it's like when we saw it disappear when it flew in front of my nose. And I'm talking something, I'm within a half mile looking at it. And it gets in front of me and just disappears. So we'll just go to something that everyone knows is fast. Let's just say SR-71 that's doing Mach 3. The visibility is 50 miles. So even at 35 miles a minute, I'm going to be able to see this thing turn into a little dot as it goes off into the horizon for probably a minute. The thing that we saw disappeared in a second. just gone. And that's from two different angles. Remember, the other airplane's 8,000 feet above me because we get close to it at about 12,000 feet. So the other airplane's above me looking down, and when it disappeared, I said, "Do you guys see it?" And they said, "No, it's gone." It just literally was poof.
Have you not watched Unacknowledged?
What is Unacknowledged?
You got to watch Unacknowledged.
What is that one?
Okay, you got to watch Unacknowledged.
What is it?
You got to watch Unacknowledged.
Is that Stephen Greer movie?
No.
It is. Yeah,
It is?
Yeah, listen to me, man.
No?
No.
No good, huh?
No. There's a fucking industry, and the industry is in people wanting to get mysteries solved. The great mystery of is there life out there? And nobody has any answers. I did this show for Sci-Fi called Joe Rogan Questions Everything, and before that show, I was a hardcore believer in a lot of wonky conspiracies, like Bigfoot and aliens. I just loved them because they seem so interesting.
I don't live in Bigfoot.
You don't live in Bigfoot?
No, I don't.
Bigfoot's the most plausible.
You think so?
Yes.
Wow, why?
Because there was an animal called a Gigantopithecus that
Yeah, there
lived
was.
alongside human beings as recently as 100,000 years ago. It was a real, absolutely real animal.
Okay.
And they found fossilized bones of these things, and they found teeth from an apothecary shop in China. There was a real animal. It was a gigantic bipedal hominid that was somewhere around 8 to 10 feet tall. So this thing lived at the same time people did. So this is probably the reason why there's this myth of Bigfoot, that at one point in time, this was a real thing.
No, but what about that they're walking around now?
Probably.
That's what I'm saying.
Most likely not.
That was what I was saying. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a giant,
Yeah, but there's, a lot of people...
So tell me
that,
about aliens. Tell me about...
most business. Most of it
well,
is business.
what about the Air Force general that said... did that tape, gave it to his wife, and said, "Don't put this out until I'm dead." Did you not feel as though when he was speaking, any of that was real? You've seen that, right?
I think too.
You seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those. I've seen a lot of those
There's
people.
one in
There's a lot of former military people that say they've seen crazy things, and it's entirely possible that they really did. It's entirely possible, but it's also possible that they're crazy. It's possible that they love attention. It's possible that they're bored. It's possible that they're schizophrenic. It's possible that they have memories that they've concocted over the years and enhanced, and it's gotten them attention, and it's putting them in documentaries, and it gets them interviews on television programs. But that there's no evidence, and the problem with all these people is they all have this same feeling about them, and they're not. There's very few of them that come across as rational and objective. Most of them come across as there's something wrong. There's wires that aren't connecting. If you talk to them about other things in life, like if you had a chance to talk to them for a long period of time, sit down with them for 3 hours, ask them about ghosts and psychics and all kinds of other shit. They almost all believe in that stuff. They're believers.
Yeah.
They want to believe in nonsense.
I hear as soon as that crops up, I'm out of the room.
But it's possible. I mean, not just possible. It's 100% likely that there's alien life out there. Likely.
100%. I'm glad you said that. You kind of scared me for a second.
No, I think it's more likely.
I just love that movie
is.
because it had a nice thread through.
That movie horseshit.
Okay.
There's a lot of those movies that are horseshit, and that guy, he knows some of that's horseshit. Like there's a little baby that they had found that's an aborted fetus. They were trying to pass that off as an alien baby for a long time, but they have genome
You don't believe
tests.
that we're hybrids?
No.
What do you?
They're hybrids.
Can you tell me about the link
What link?
between monkeys and us? Seriously.
Well,
between the two
this is-
frontal lobes and the brain of the monkey.
we are hominids. I mean, we are primates, and we're just the most advanced primate. The real question is, how did we get to be so much more advanced?
That's what I asked you.
Well, it's more likely
That
that we
link.
found fire and our diet changed and hunting, and then the stoned ape theory, which is a very fascinating theory. The stoned ape theory is Terence McKenna's theory that
I
human
read that.
beings found psilocybin mushrooms,
yeah.
and that through the use of psilocybin mushrooms, which in low doses increases visual acuity, produces these ecstatic states, that it might have helped us develop language and communication and creativity, and that this in turn was the reason why the human brain doubled in size over a period of 2 million years, which is the greatest mystery in the history of the fossil record. They don't know why they did it, but there's a very clear path
So then
between
you do
lower
believe we were here 1 million years ago? Hominids?
Some form of primate was certainly here millions of years ago, as was deer. Deer were here millions of years ago.
Okay,
There's a
good,
lot
good.
of animals.
Didn't interrupt you, please.
No, it's okay. I don't know. The
I
thing
feel
is,
that. I feel like, just because there was an ice age, it was like how many 100,000 years was the ice age?
well, a bunch of ice ages, but the most recent one ended somewhere in the neighborhood of 12,000 years ago.
That was
Nothing. Yeah.
from beginning to end. We don't know what caused it.
Well, when the age exists, we have to remember that some parts of the world aren't experiencing the ice age, and then humans thrived in Africa during parts of the ice age. I mean, there's a lot of human beings that live all over the world. The real question is, where did they start? Most likely from Africa, but they could have possibly started from some other places too. And we're starting to learn that.
Well, that's
but the people that are learning that,
thing, right?
the people that are learning, no, not really.
Why?
Well, I mean, there's that too, but I mean, mostly just people traveling. But what you really learn from is archaeologists. Those are the people you learn from, and biologists, people that really understand the human genome. They really understand the differences between people that emerge from China versus people that emerge from Western Europe versus people that emerge from or Native Americans. I mean, there's so many different types of human beings that came from different climates, and that their bodies evolved from these places. And there's real science to that. You're not going to get that from these goofy fucking documentaries. These goofy fucking documentaries are basically a business. And the business is there's a bunch of people out there that want to know the answers. What is the truth? And so you get, I was aboard the secret UFO. I saw the magnetic controller that makes us travel through the cosmos and bend time and space. It's like a wormhole. And they'll say a bunch of sciencey sounding shit, but there's no evidence. There's nothing. When they talk about, there's nothing.
What's David Wilcock? You know David? No. Again? Really?
That guy says that he is the reincarnation of Edgar Casey. Do you know that? Did you know that?
Yeah, I've heard.
Do you know Edgar Casey?
Yeah, of course.
Famous kick who never really fit anything.
Understood.
And thought to be a fraud, most widely by scientists and skeptics.
Drinking laudanum.
Laudanum? Is that what he did?
Don't you think?
I don't know. I don't know what
everything was written and everybody was stoned.
Well, I think
when you talk about the psychedelic, psilocybin mushrooms, opiates, laudanum, the last 100 years.
How do you say it? Laudanum?
Laudanum. Everyone was drinking that shit.
Yeah. Right.
But look,
there's that shit was in that.
Japanese, they never left the island. Do a lot of Japanese have the same eyes shapes?
Yes, they do.
Is there a reason?
Well, there's a reason why.
They didn't leave the island and come back after mating with anybody else.
So
they stayed on that body of land.
Do you think they're from aliens?
No, absolutely not. It's just that they stayed on that plot of land.
Sure. But wouldn't you agree a lot of people from Asia look fairly similar?
Yeah, I do.
But they were similar, right?
But I think it took millions of years. That's my take. Look, I can't prove anything.
No, they do believe it took millions of years.
They always finish stuff by saying, I didn't see it.
Right.
When I go out at night in Maui and walk around, I'm dying to see UFO.
Me too.
So are you. Because
Everybody
the second I see one,
right,
that will make clear shit like, the song I wrote called Back When Cain Was Able, way before it's about a mothership and shit. Way before I knew anything about UFOs.
Did you ever see him when you did psychedelics? When you did drugs, whether you did mushrooms
I never
acid,
saw anything that wasn't there.
For sure.
I'm not that kind of people.
No.
I'm not the kind of people.
Some people have, though, and the idea is that there are things that are out there in neighboring dimensions that you're really not capable of accessing them. Yeah. That's where the real aliens live.
Yeah.
I don't know, man, but I just know that all these people that are pushing it, there's fuckery involved in all these people.
No,
that's a real problem.
I hear you.
Because it's fun. It's fun. You want to believe, right? You want to believe that there's a general out there that's seen a spaceship that's under the mountain. Tell me about it, Mr. General. And he goes on a lecture tour, and you got to pay money to see him, and he's in a documentary, and there's a lot of those people out there, man. And
I live with it. Backstage with Joe Perry, what'd you do? Yes, my whole life.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. The wow of the thrill of the story. But,
people love to
it says, you know what? They still haven't found that missing link. That between...
If you talk to biologists,
and
they
how
say
the apes stood up because they walking through the savannas.
They have Australopithecus fossils. They have the things that were like us that are different from a long fucking time ago. They have those.
And the size of the brain?
Yeah,
frontal lobes?
The brain changed. It doubled over a period of 2 million years. I mean, that did happen. But they know what we used to be. There are simple hominids that were, or rather ancient hominids, that are very similar to human beings, and they slowly became human beings. And there's also, they keep finding all these different versions of human beings. Like there wasn't just Homo sapiens, and of course there's Neanderthals, but there was the one from Russia. What was that called? That was in that book, Hominid. What is that? I can't remember though. It starts with a D, but it's one that they've found very recently. Very recently. You find it, Jamie? Yeah. Here it is. Denisovan hominin, an extinct species of subspecies of archaic humans. They found in the 1970s by the Russian paleontologist Nikolai Oldov. So there's been a bunch of different forms of humans. We're just the most successful form of human. The idea that it's just alien DNA connected with people, it's sexy. It sounds fun, but there's no evidence.
I hear you. Now, what we are as humans?
Well, we are mutations. We are an ancient thing that slowly figured its way out. We became better at seeing things. We became better at hunting. We became better at harnessing fire.
Where do you think free...
There's a lot of people that don't even believe it's real. They believe in determinism. They don't even believe that free will is an actual thing. I mean, I've heard Sam Harris argue it pretty successfully, that there is no such thing as free will, that you are an accumulation of your genetics, your life experiences, all the things that have happened to you, the people that you've come in contact with.
That's true. Behavioral.
And that forms...
Behavioral psychology, that's
your
true.
behavior. Think about your behavior.
Yeah.
And how much of your behavior is shaped by millions of adoring fans and people screaming and cheering you on and singing songs that move people and literally change generations, give people goosebumps when they hear them. I mean, all that stuff has shaped who you are. I mean, all that stuff changes who a person is. And who you are now and the way you behave now is in many ways shaped by your life experiences as much as it is by your genetics. And you wouldn't be this person if you hadn't lived that life. And the decisions that you make from this moment on, right now, leave the studio and have a conversation with someone, will be shaped, at least in part, by this conversation. And mine will be by my conversation with you. This is what the idea behind determinism.
Okay, so I would ask, who said this? Who was into this?
There's many people that come up with this concept, but I've heard it. It was really argued to me by Sam Harris the most successfully.
Wow, interesting. I just wonder why then, you know, certain monkeys, certain breeds of monkeys, smart ones, bonobos, I love them because I'm a bonobo, but have, you know, they'll put a stick in something and pull out shilajit, but, you know.
Well, that's
also. They haven't gone, well, wait a minute now then. They haven't gone past that. So.
Well, do you know pathologists actually believe that chimpanzees have entered the Stone Age? This is one thing that's being considered now, that they've started use of tools on a regular basis.
Okay.
They think that they're learning from each other, and they think that they're, if they are evolving, right, and if human beings evolved over a period of millions of years, we are actually watching chimpanzees evolve in real time.
Well, I think so too.
A long process. It'll take millions of years, but they have entered the Stone Age. So they think that, who knows, with a series of mutations, with natural selection, with a bunch of different things happening, what a chimpanzee is today, most likely it will be a different thing in 2 million years.
Of course it will.
Yeah. And
I totally agree on that.
Right. That these intelligent animals, they're going to experiment with things. Here it is. Macaques often use stone tools.
Sure
Monkeys
they
have
do.
been living in the Stone Age for 50 years. So for 50 years, these animals, just 50, okay?
I'm not sure about that. That's when somebody first saw them using the stone.
Well, in terms of primatologists observing behavior. So these archaeologists have uncovered stone tools they believe these animals have used. So,
or other humans.
Yeah, or other humans.
Because you can't figure stone out.
Right.
Now, when you look, what do you think about... Look up and I don't know the answers. That's why I got my girls.
Well, I definitely don't know. Remember, I just repeat shit smart people have figured out.
Ones that are cut up in, not Machu Picchu, but up in wherever.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Those, you know, the laser cuts.
Not laser, but very precise cuts, yeah.
Whoever it was.
Advanced civilizations that have been wiped out by cataclysms.
And that's what my mind goes to, fuck yeah, we were here.
Something
we went underground. There's places, I saw movies of it, where you go into the mountain, you go back 3 miles in the mountain. Right. Have you seen this?
Yeah, there
caves?
are. Yeah, there's incredible cave
3
systems.
fucking miles back.
But there's natural cave systems.
Giant rooms like this in there.
There's natural systems in Texas that go back miles into the mountains.
So
the hills, I should say.
That's where my head goes with this. You know, ghosts, come on. That's your own fear.
I don't know. You know where you're talking about Muscle Shoals?
Yeah.
The feeling in that room? There might be a similar feeling when a violent encounter happens in a house. That might be what a ghost is. What a ghost is might be this thing that you can't capture, you can't put it in a box, you can't weigh it on a scale, but you get a feeling when you're in a place where something horrible happened and you could feel it. It's not impossible to imagine that that's the case. And Rupert Sheldrake was the guy that I told you believed that, and he's a scientist, and some people would argue against it, but that he believes that things have memory, and that it's possible that even this table has memory. All the people that are sat where you sat
I think it's got a vibe. Not sure if it's memory. You know what's got memory? Water. Nobody knows about that yet. Water.
Right.
Because it never goes anywhere. You can never get rid of water.
It's true.
You can boil it, steam it, it goes up, it comes back down. So
Right.
I think when they find out the memory in water, I also got to tell you,